All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to move into talking about the GRE test. And I just want to go over a couple points about the TOEFL listening and speaking before we do that. So I'm going to go to my PowerPoints and we're going to get started from there. So it's good to see you. We are already in class 7, if you can believe it. So we're shifting into the GRE section of this class, but I am going to go over a couple key points before we do that. So good to see you. Happy Wednesday. Here we go with the GRE. So today's agenda is going to start off with just some key points to just to remind you about for the TOEFL listening and speaking. I know in total we spent 4 classes on the speaking and then 2 classes on the listening, but I just want to make sure you're looking at some of the resources that I gave you. I know I give you a lot of information, so I just want to point out a couple of things before we move on. And then we're going to go over the overview of the GRE test. We're going to talk about what the big test is like, and then we're going to focus on the analytical writing section. So this is hopefully going to be our focus for the next couple of classes, and I hope to give you some information about it and also give you the chance to look at a sample or an example with your partner today, okay? So from there, we're going to go over some tips and tricks about this first type of analytical writing, which is called analyzing an issue. That's what we're going to focus on today. Okay. So I just want to remind you that we're in a judgment-free zone, okay, including to yourself. So we're all here to learn. So tell your critic to sit down, and we're going to learn something together today, and we're just going to try our best, okay? So just as a reminder, so we've finished the 4 classes about the speaking test on the TOEFL, and then we did 2 classes on the listening test for the TOEFL. So in total, our 6 classes for the TOEFL. Now we're moving into, like I said, the GRE, and we're gonna focus on the analytical writing section, and then we're gonna move into the verbal reasoning, okay? So just so you kind of know how it's going. When I originally wrote the schedule for this class, I thought we would spend 2 classes on the writing and then 3 classes on the verbal reasoning, but I'm switching that right now. Just looking at the writing, it looks like you might need a little more time to focus on it and to have the chance to look at some examples, okay? So today, next week, and the next week, we'll be looking at the writing section, and then we'll spend two classes on the verbal reasoning, okay? Just to kind of give you an overview of how it's coming up, okay? So how are you feeling before we move on? How are you feeling about the listening section? And I'm going to come back to you. How are you doing? You feel like you're okay? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Any questions about the TOEFL listening or the TOEFL speaking before we move on? You all right? Yeah? Okay. So Julia, you had asked me last class to about some resources, and I just wanted to point out some resources that I include on my handouts, but you might not have noticed, okay? So I just want to point them out to you so that you see where there's some extra practice, and I'm going to share my screen again. So, so just to pay attention. Oops. So at the bottom of some of the listening, and I can put this link in the chats again if you need it, but sometimes when the ETS loads a listening test practice or a speaking test practice, they often at the bottom, you might not notice it, but they put an extra whole practice set for you, okay? And I've already downloaded it. It looks something like this, all right? It has all of the questions for you. It also has the text. So if you were going back to listen to the text and you weren't sure or you wanted to check yourself, The text is here, and then the questions are here, okay? They do not number them well. That's my only complaint. So track 1 and 2 actually go with the first question, the first text, and then track 3 and 4 go with the next one. You just have to kind of pay attention to that, okay? But all of this is free, and it's just from downloading from this link, from this particular web page from ETS, okay? So I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to also point out that also for the speaking test, they also have practice sets. It's more of a PDF style, so it's going to give you the questions to practice, okay? But there is no listening on this particular example, okay? So it's not exactly the same, but it is another way for you to practice if you wanted to go through some of the prompts. Okay, so often I'm giving you a lot of information, and when I give you a handout, I list a lot of the resources, and maybe you think this is crazy, MD, but I'm just trying to give you enough information and also the chance for you to have those resources to look at later. Okay, so for the GRE today, I will point out how I organized it so you can go through a little more easily to see where different resources are, okay? But let me put these 2 links in the chat for you if they're of interest. They are on your handout, but if you wanted to just save them for right now for yourself, that might help you, okay? So this is the listening one. And this is the speaking one, okay? So if you just want to click the link and bookmark it for yourself, go back to it after class if you have time, or refer to it later whenever. So just so you know that that's there, and those are more sets of practice that maybe you didn't notice before, okay? Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the GRE. How do you feel about the GRE? Does anyone have any experience with the GRE? No? 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 Okay. So we're going to go through a couple key points about the test overall, and then we're going to go through the specific part about the analytical writing section, okay? But I just want to tell you a personal story before we start. I took the GRE twice. And it was when I was still living in Japan. I was teaching English in Japan. And I decided I wanted to go back to school again for my second master's. At the time, I thought I wanted to do a PhD, so I had to take the GRE. And I did not do well. And when I was preparing for the test, I was studying from a book. And the book kept telling me, like, you have to learn how to take the test. And it really frustrated me because I thought, like, well, you know, I already had a master's, so why do I have to take the GRE to get another master's, right? So anyway, I'm saying that to say to you, the GRE is not really my friend, but I'm going to try to make it my friend for you, okay? Okay. So I'm just going to try to simplify some stuff for you and learn about it with you, because I didn't have all this information before when I took the test before. Okay. So I still got into another master's program that didn't require the GRE. So I can point out some resources for you that have some lists of more information about scores that you need and things like that. Okay, so please ask questions if you need help with that. And we'll just try to learn about it together. Okay, so here we go. All right, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. Right. So we're going to talk about the GRE today. And if you're not sure, or if you've never heard this, I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the whole test, and then I'm going to tell you more about the analytical writing section. So the GRE test, what does that even mean? It's called the Graduate Record Exam, okay? That's what GRE stands for. And it is a way to test your critical thinking, your analytical writing, your verbal reasoning, and your quantitative reasoning skills. The quantitative reasoning skills has to do with your knowledge of math, okay? So it's going to test those 4 things in 3 sections, all right? Who takes the GRE? Any potential student that's applying for a master's program here in the US, an MBA program, a Juris Doctorate, which is a law degree program, and any PhD programs, all right? So just like you saw in my example, some schools require the GRE, but not every school does, okay? It is just another standardized test that is used for college, for graduate admissions here in the US, okay? How are your scores used? That means once you take the test and you're given the information, how are those scores actually used? So they are used as supplemental material to couple with your undergraduate and your graduate scores or grades, okay? They are also in addition to your recommendation letters and any other piece of your overall application, okay? You might see now that some schools require the GRE and some schools say it's not as important, but they ask you to take it, okay? So it still might be an important part of your test process. It still might be an important part as you're applying for different programs, all right? There are 3 main sections. The test starts with the analytical writing section. That's what we're going to talk about today. Then there is the verbal reasoning section, which is what we're going to talk about in the last 2 classes. And then there's the quantitative reasoning section, which is the math section, okay? There are also some specialized sections. If you're applying to a specific program and your science or your study of literature or history or whatever it is more specialized, okay? So you might, if you're applying to a specific program, you might have to take an additional part of the test. But the overall GRE test is just these 3 sections, okay? I want to tell you a little bit more about each section. So the analytical writing section, it's going to measure your critical thinking skills and your analytical writing skills, all right? You will see in today's example what you have to do and how you have to analyze or get to the bottom of whatever the prompt is asking you, okay? And then the verbal reasoning, that's the next section. It's going to measure your ability to analyze and draw conclusions from a discourse, all right? It's also going to see if you can make conclusions from incomplete data, all right? And also ask you to understand multiple levels of meaning. So it's really, both of these are really focusing on your critical thinking skills. If you feel like those are not your good skills yet, there are a lot of ways you can practice to get better at these skills for this particular test. All right, so don't panic. We're here to help, and we're going to give you some skills to get ready for that. And finally, the quantitative reasoning section of the test is going to measure your ability to understand, interpret, and analyze quantitative information and solve problems using mathematical models. All right. So those 3 sections will be on every test, okay? Then, like I said, if you had to specialize, you would have another test on a specialized topic, okay? So the scoring, just so you know, the analytical writing is from 0 to 6, just so you know. The verbal reasoning scores from 130 to 170, all right? And the quantitative reasoning is the same, from 130 to 170. Your goal is to try to get around a 3.5 or higher with the analytical writing. Most graduate students score between 3 and 6 for the analytical writing. I'm just giving you that as kind of a parameter or a way to think about where you're headed when you're doing your analytical writing, okay? Most graduate programs ask for the verbal reasoning that you're somewhere around 150, and with your quantitative reasoning that you're somewhere around 153, okay? So this just gives you a sense of what your goal might be and where you can aim towards. It also might give you a sense of when you're taking a practice test and you're getting a score back, it might tell you a little bit more about where you're falling, okay? I do have a link today that's going to explain exactly for different programs, and what I mean different majors, it's going to tell you what score you exactly need, okay? It's going to generalize, but it would say, like, for physics, you need to get this in verbal, this in analytical writing, and this in quantitative reasoning, okay? So just so you have a sense of that as you prepare and as you get your test results back. All right, so today we're going to focus on the analytical writing section. You might sometimes hear it called the AWA, which means the Analytical Writing Assessment. Okay, you might hear me say that. You might see that when you're looking at different texts. All right, so the overall purpose is to measure your critical thinking and your analytical writing skills, like we said. And it also assesses your ability to express and support complex ideas, to create and evaluate arguments, and maintain clear and focused discussion. So what that means is you're going to be asked to look at an issue and decide whether you agree or disagree with it. And you're going to have to support your ideas with examples, details, or some kind of support. Then you're also going to be asked to look at someone else's argument and decide whether they did a good job of supporting their ideas or not. And you're going to have to explain why. Okay? So it's boiled down to 2 different sections, all right? Each of them are worth 30 minutes, or you have 30 minutes to complete each task, all right? So I know that sounds really scary. Even when I was thinking about back to my experience, that was the really scary part, okay? But I do have some hints for you today and some ways for you to practice to get ready for this. So like I said, you might have to analyze an issue, and you might also have to analyze an argument. So when you analyze an issue, so we'll go back to the score 1 second. So score is based on your analytical writing skills. And what that means is, can you really express your ideas clearly? Can you create a strong argument? And can you maintain the support throughout what you wrote? All right. So that means you're not changing topic, that if you agree, you 100% agree, and you say all of those points very clearly. You're not kind of going back and forth. It also means that you're able to express those ideas very clearly with correct grammar, and that you make your point quite strongly. Okay, and we will look at how to do that today. They're also looking for a correct grammar and clear structure of writing. We will look at this more closely today, okay? And then, like I said, most students score between 3 and 6, all right? If you look at the test scores, you know, a 0 is like you didn't write anything, a 1 is you only made 1 point. You know, you can see pretty easily how they score each of these analytical writing pieces, okay? So for the analyze an issue task, this is one task, okay? You're going to be given an opinion. So think about, in a lot of your classes with me, you've already shown me and yourself that you can support your opinion about something, right? even when we just practice speaking, you said, first, I agree, I think this, then my second reason is this, blah, 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 and you were able to give your examples. You're going to be doing the same thing, but in writing, okay? So you will be given an opinion about kind of a general point of view, all right? And you will be given specific instructions. And what that means is you're going to be asked to do something specific with that opinion. So you will see some examples today. Don't worry if you don't understand this yet, okay? And then what your job is to take this position. So this is your opinion. Take this position, take a position on the issue and develop an argument, whether you support it or not, and explain why, all right? Your score depends on how well you support what you wrote, right? So just think about what you've practiced already. You practiced it in your speaking test for the TOEFL class. You practiced it in the language foundation class with thinking about how to give a speech and with thinking about how to write a basic essay, okay? So you did those things already, all right? You're just going to be doing the same thing and supporting your argument with details and examples and your reasons, okay? So the other type of test is the analyze an argument task. And this means that you're going to be given someone else's argument, right? So they think this, blah, 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 right? And you're going to have to decide if they argued it very strongly or well, and if they were clear about what they said, all right? So you're going to decide, does it have enough evidence? Do they give enough support that makes it clear why they feel the way they do, or why they're arguing this point or not, okay? And your score depends on how well you can evaluate what was given to you, the argument that was given to you, and provide reasons why it is a strong argument or not, okay? For both tasks, just like we practiced before, you will be expected to write a short essay. I know that sounds crazy in 30 minutes. I know it does. I know it does. But we're going to go through and simplify how you can do that very easily, okay? And we're going to take some time to practice so you know how you would start, how you would keep it going, and how you would close it. So just like we practiced before, you might have an introduction, a very short introduction. You're going to have some body paragraphs that support your idea. And you're going to have a conclusion that's going to close your thoughts, right? Okay. And just to remind you, when we're writing in English for one paragraph, okay, we often start with a statement. So we say something, we make a point, we say an opinion, right? And then we give our reason plus a little bit of support for our reason, an example for our reason, details for our reason, all right? Then we give another reason and we do the same thing. We give another reason if there's time and we do the same thing. And then again, you close your paragraph because you want your concluding sentence to say, like, that's all I have to say about this topic, okay? So I gave you a lot of information before we go on. How are you feeling? Do you have any questions? And I have all of this on a handout. So if you're in a panic, don't worry. I have all this for you. You okay? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. All right. So what I thought we could do today is look at a couple different examples of the analyze an issue task, okay? Just so you have an idea of what it even looks like, right? And then work with a partner just to simply answer some questions and to see if you can analyze or think about how you would start to answer this question, okay? And I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. So like I said, just reminders, right? So the analyze an issue task, it's going to give you and ask you to make an opinion in support of, disagree with, whatever it is. And then you need to take a position, right? And you need to develop an argument that supports your reasons and give examples why you feel that way. Okay. So what we're going to do next, and I'm going to show you, I need to stop this 1 second. So we're going to look at a couple different examples. Let me see if I can find the right one. Okay. So ETS, they have a whole web page, which is a pool of issue topics. And if you don't know that expression, it just means a group of issue topics. Okay. So they are listed here like this. All right. So what you're going to do with your partner is you're going to choose one. You can choose whatever one. There are a lot of them. Right. And then you're going to read the opinion. All right. And then you're going to think about, what is the question asking me to answer? All right. So then I have a couple different questions that you're going to work on with your partner, just to make sure that that the two of you can answer the question and start to make an argument about this particular opinion. Okay. So let's just try this one together. Let me get a little, I can't. Okay, so it says, universities should require every student to take a variety of courses outside the student's field of study. Everybody understand? You got it? Okay. All right, so the question is, what they're asking you is to write a response in which you discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the claim. In developing and supporting your position, be sure to address the most compelling reasons and/or examples that could be used to challenge your position. So tell me, what are they asking you to do? And I'm going to copy this and bring it over. What are they asking you to do? What do you have to do for this one? And just take a moment and look at it. What do you think?
First, choose if you agree or not.
Good job. Good job. Right. So decide if you agree or not. And what are we agreeing with or not agreeing with, Inara?
I agree with the university that we should have most opportunities to go study in other fields.
Good job.
Because we can be in other fields, period, now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So Inara is saying she agrees with this idea that universities should require, right? Should require students to study in different fields, not just their main field, right? Okay. So you can disagree with that. It doesn't matter. You can choose one side or the other. Okay. Now looking at the question for a moment, look at the question. What is it asking us to do?
Support our statement.
Sure.
With examples, with reasons and examples.
Good job. Good job. And what does it say, Inara? I'll stay with you. What does it say right at the very end? What does it say? Be sure to address what?
Can you repeat, please? I couldn't understand.
Yeah, no problem. So right at the very end, look at the question for a second.
Okay.
It's in the chat. What does it say at the very end? Be sure to do what?
Compelling reasons and or examples that could be used to challenge your position.
Right.
Is that you have to give good reasons, especially scientific reason, things like this, that no one should say, oh, I can say something disagreeing and your reason goes down.
Right. Right. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. So any other thoughts about this question? Do we need to do anything else?
I think you would like to also add, you need to think about what would be the most likely counterpoints, counter arguments, and someone who had a different view would say if they were with the same question, the same statement.
Good job, Andre. Good job. Good job. Right. So the very last part, they're asking you to say, be sure to address. So you might say, like, some people think this, but I think this, right? So some people might say universities should only have programs for, for their major, and you should focus on your major for 4 years or 2 years or whatever it is, right? But what they're asking you is to show that you can think about your reasons why you support it or not, and the counter argument, and to add that into what you're writing. Okay. So when you're looking at the questions today with your partner, really pick out, like, what do I really have to do? Because if you miss that, you're going to lose points because you missed that part, even if you write the most beautiful argument essay. You got it? Okay. So make sure you pay attention and take your time with your partner to just really look at what the question is asking you. All right. And take your time, talk about it. You can talk about it with your partner, pull these things apart. Because the more you become familiar with what they're asking you, the more you will be ready for that when they ask you on the test. You got it? Okay. Any questions about that? You okay?
Is there a limit about how many lines we should write, or it's just about the time?
That is a good question. That's a really good question. So they don't give any really specific format, and we're going to look at a template in a moment. They don't give a very specific format, but they do say that you should have some kind of basic essay format. Okay. So yes, you're going to be running against time. Yes. And you're going to be running against how you can quickly organize your thoughts and say it, right? And put it down on paper, right? So I wouldn't worry so much, Andre, about the space. I would worry about how you're organizing it and how you're supporting it. How about, let's think about it like that. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Are you feeling really nervous about this now? Kind of, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So what I thought we could do, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. What I thought we could do is, with a partner, what you're going to do is, let me make this a little bigger. What you're going to do is looking at the same, you're going to look at the same link, okay? And then I just ask you to answer these questions with your partner, just for practice, okay? So just like we just did, I asked you, what is the main problem here, right? And Inara was able to give us what the situation was, right? And then most importantly, what are the instructions asking us to do, right? So you and your partner, what are they asking us to do, all right? And then decide, do we agree with this point or not? Maybe you and your partner will have different opinions. That's okay, all right? And then think about, are there any assumptions or any ideas that I feel like I need to address when I'm writing? Okay, so think about that. And are these assumptions reasonable? Like, do they even make sense? Right? If not, then I'm not going to address them, or I'm not going to include them in my argument, right? And then this is kind of a funny question, but is this issue valid only under certain conditions? So like the university question might be only specific to university settings, right? So you might think, yeah, it's only specific to this. So it's going to help you to focus your writing on that. If you feel like the issue can apply to many different things, then you might use that to your advantage, because you can include these different situations in your reasoning. You got it? Okay. And then you're going to think about, what examples could we use to advance our opinion? So you're talking to your partner and you're thinking about, what examples could I give right now, just in thinking about it, to support our argument for this. Is everybody okay? Yeah. So I'm going to put this handout in the chat. You're going to go off with your partner, just say hi to your partner. And then what you're going to do is choosing one of those example, analyze an issue tasks, okay? If it feels overwhelming to you, it's okay. This is maybe your first time to see it, that's okay, no problem. You are here to learn about how to process this particular writing task, okay? So just talk to your partner and see how you can answer those questions and see how you can organize your information, okay? Don't sweat it, don't sweat it. It's gonna be okay. And you're just gonna look at it today in the comfort of talking to your partner and trying to figure it out together, all right? After we do that, I do have a template that we can look at, which will give you some hints about how to answer this question, okay? And that will kind of maybe give you the sense like, oh, I know, like I can start my introduction like this, right? And I can start my first paragraph like this, and then I can give my reasons. And my second paragraph, it'll start to give you a formula to use so that you can start to write your essay, right? We're not going to write an essay today, but I just want you to have some information. So if you go home and practice, that you can look at it and look at it really specifically. Okay. Everybody okay? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put this handout in the chat. And then we're going to go off with your partner. And you're just going to give it some practice. Okay. And see how you do with your partner. And I'm going to come through, as I often do, and I'm happy to answer any questions while you're there, all right? And just see how you're doing, all right? All right. Remember, there's always the help or, talk to the host button if you need help. It's on your toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you ever need to talk to me directly, just push that and I'll come directly to your room, okay? Take your time, good luck, and I'll see you soon.
Hi, teacher.
Hi. How are you doing? Hi.
Fine. Just open the handout.
Yeah, no problem. So just take your time, okay?
Okay.
See if you can answer those questions together, and then we'll see how we do, okay?
Okay. Hello, MB.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
So is it everyone there at the web page?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let me try to share my screen. The question.
You base it on the student's academic performance.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay.
Just put it on the chat so we can always see and compare. So
On your personal experience, then there are some subjects the school, the institution, the university offer, then maybe you wouldn't have studied if it wasn't there as a potential option as it was. And this is a point in favor of this opinion of having a variety of courses and not generally go just in that specific area. It's about having this transversal dialogue between areas in science, in other subjects that can contribute to make a point, to make a discovery that will be useful to people in their own ways, in their own fields. So it's about combining knowledge and bringing the benefit to the people.
Okay.
I agree with
So
you.
perfect.
Manish. Hello, MB.
Hi. I think in the computer you guys are always matched together.
Maybe it's because we logged first, you know.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
I believe it's that. For
That's it. It could be. It could be.
There's some logic behind it.
Yeah.
Oh, and MB, I
Yeah.
asked one thing to
Sure.
Tilia that I'm not totally sure about it.
Sure.
We needed to state our position to that prompt,
Right.
support our position,
Right.
and provide the possible counter argument to that position. Is that right?
For this one, yes. For
For this one.
Yeah.
And finishing, just wrapping up the idea.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I can show you a link if this will help you as you're processing it. Hold on one second. So this is a link to, and I'm going to share it with everyone, but since you're thinking that way, this is the link to a template. If you look, just look at the issue, analyze an issue template. Okay, it's broken. It does like the introduction for both, and then it does the body for both. So just make sure you're looking at the first one. And I can share my screen if that's helpful, so you know what I'm talking about. So it gives you some hints, right, as you prepare for your essay. And then what it does is, see this introduction for the issue essay here. Okay, so it tells you how to start off. It gives you one example, doesn't tell you. It gives you one example of how to start off. Okay, and then the body paragraphs go here. Okay, so it gives you some sort of formula that you might be useful as you're trying to prepare your argument. Today, I just thought we could become familiar with these examples. And next week, we're going to look in more as to how to write it. But I am going to mention this template today. So you're welcome to look at it if that's helpful for you. And then it tells you some hints about how to write the conclusion. Okay.
Okay.
So just look at the top one for each of these examples. Just don't get it mixed up because they're listing it right after each other. Okay. But yes, Aguinaldo, you have to pay attention to what the question's asking you. And that's the tricky part. That's the tricky part. So this one in particular, it's asking you to provide the counter argument, which is hard, right? But if you do it, if you don't miss that point, then you won't lose the points on that particular piece of it. Okay. And we can look more specifically at the different types of questions, which they have I think there are 8 different types of questions. So we can do that next week to look at, so you know what they're really asking you and pay attention.
Okay.
I thought maybe today we would just look at in general so you can get a sense of what it looks like. Okay.
Teacher,
Right.
this test is so predictable, like the TOEFL in their questions, because I thought TOEFL is very predictable. It's almost the same question always.
I think in some ways, yes, it is. If you understand and can remember the different types of questions and how you can answer them, yes. I think the panic is going to be the time and making sure that your arguments are really clear because the time's ticking, right? So my suggestion is to practice and to keep practicing and just know how to organize your ideas very easily. Okay. All right, so just take a moment, look at the test, some
Okay.
examples. Don't let it scare you. We're just looking at it today and just trying to think through how we might answer it. Okay. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I have to use some more formal words, like
Right.
instead of saying I agree with this point, I would use which word? I don't know exactly what to say.
I think that these two words are very used in the essay, formal essays. Agree and disagree, teacher. We can use this word.
Yeah, you can say I strongly support, I believe in, so Solange, I have a template. I'm going to put it in the chat and I'm going to share it with everyone. But since you're thinking of this right now, the template goes through, and I'm just going to share my screen one moment just so you can see. What it does is it tells you some ideas about how to plan. But then for each of this, see where it says introduction for the issue essay. Okay, it gives you kind of a basic format for starting the introduction for the issue essay. All right. And then here, just like you were just talking about, it gives you some examples.
Interesting. In Portuguese, I cannot use I agree, so in English, no problem.
So for this one, because you're saying your opinion, you can say I. Yes.
All right.
I.
Right.
Teacher, this structure of the essay is similar for the right section in the TOEFL?
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah.
Very similar.
So if you already have in your mind kind of this format, then this you'll just kind of insert your ideas into this format. Okay?
Okay.
And this is just another example. You can use whatever format you think is the best. This is just a suggestion. And then at the very end, it has the conclusion. Just pay attention to which one they're talking about because they make both of them right after each other. Okay? Okay, so as you're thinking and as you're trying to answer the question together, just think through like you were doing. What would I say and what would I write, right? And if you need to use a template as a format or as a formula, you can do that right now just to practice. Okay? Okay. All right, good luck.
Thank you.
How are you guys doing? You okay?
Hello, Andy.
Hi.
Hi.
You okay?
We're doing good.
Yes, it's okay.
I think Cecilia's
Lost the internet?
with hers.
Okay.
She's freeze.
Okay. I'll go back to the main room and see if she's there.
Okay.
I'll come back.
I think the policies and the explain your reason. I agree that education is very important. There are policy. It's very interesting for
E FMT as an assistente em administração.
Okay. Maybe we did all the questions, but we didn't write.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you can go
on. How are you feeling about what it was asking you? Were you okay?
Yeah, I think so. The statement wasn't very hard to understand. So, Luis helped me with thoughts and ideas.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna put this. I don't think I put it on the. Hang on 1 second. Let me just check. Okay, so if you continue on the handout, if you go to the next section, I included the template, which is a suggested template for how you would start writing. So if you want to take a look at that for a moment, it just gives you an example of how to start the introduction. We've talked about this in other classes, but just as another, formula for this. And then it tells you how to write the body paragraphs, for example. These are just suggestions. And then the end, it tells you how to write your conclusion. So if you want to think about your ideas that you discussed, you might just speak it out. You might just practice talking it, like today I want to talk about whatever, and just practice using that template to practice it. Okay. If you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. We are thinking about how we should start our answer. If we should say, I agree, or I disagree, or just talk about how universities, in our opinion, should require the students to take their subjects.
Good question. So, Andre, if you look at the next part on the handout, if you go to page 2, there's a link for a template, a possible template to answer both the analyze an issue question and the analyze an argument question. Okay, do you see that link?
Oh, yes, I see it here.
Okay, so you might look at that and you might just together talk as if you were writing, but talk your essay out just to practice, and also think about the ideas that you just shared and see if you can kind of organize your speech. It's not a speech, but organize your writing that way. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you.
So I just want to, let me just point something out. Sorry, I'm going to share my screen.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. So just be aware that the way that they organize it is the first part is always about the issue essay. See here. Okay. And then they give you the introduction for the argument essay, which we're going to start next week. Okay. So for this one, for today, just look at the first part here. All right. And then again, the first part. And then the first part here. Okay. Just pay attention to that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we have a couple more minutes. Just see if you could talk it through and see how that feels to you. Okay. Just for practice.
All right. Thank you, MB.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Good luck. You're welcome. Good luck.
For all the students, what they decide to one student should be equal to everybody. So if they require to have subject in other fields, that everybody should.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know that one. Yeah, the first one is easy, but that one.
But only we don't need to read down that, only to think about.
And about the assumptions, if they are reasonable.
Let me see. Yes, I think so. I don't know how it works.
So yes, they are, and why? Why?
I don't know. Teacher, in US, usually I believe they require students to have subjects in other fields in most universities.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Particularly undergraduate. Yes. So
maybe
usually you have like when I went to undergraduate, my first 2 years, I just took all of my requirements, which means I had to take a history class or art class or something about religion or whatever it was. I didn't declare my major because my first 2 years, I just tried all these different classes. So yeah, it's very common. And I think it's a good practice personally, but yeah, maybe different from the Brazilian school system.
Yeah, way different.
Yeah.
So
if
go ahead.
if those questions are tripping you up, don't let them. Just forget the assumption one for right now, and just think about how you would answer that question in support of or not, and what are your reasons. Just see if you can do that. Okay.
Okay.
And if you want to talk through the template by looking at the template and just saying, like, you know, as if you were writing what you were saying, you can do that as well. If you want to do that for practice. We're going to run out of time, but just think through your ideas. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good luck. Bye.